Warning, this video contains team selection and captain choices which some viewers may find offensive.
Hey guys, and welcome back to FPL TV. Before looking at my score for Game Week 5, a quick word about OneFootball who have kindly sponsored this video. The world's best football news app has now been made even better, relaunching with a fresh new design. Gain access to news, scores and stats from leagues all over the world, with a brand new interface that's cleaner, simpler and smarter than ever. As for FPL, you can follow each team in the Premier League and then get live updates from all the goals and assists every game week. Download it for free using the link in the description box below. On Saturday of Game Week 5, the team got off to a very good start. I had deliberated lots about using the wildcard last week, and if I had used it, then Timo Werner would have certainly been gone. As hoped, the German moved back to a central position on the return of Pulisic, and this certainly helped him. He produced a superb display against the Saints with an assist and 2 very well taken goals, and has now given me a real headache on whether it's worth keeping him, especially when I've got enough cash in the bank to upgrade him to Harry Kane. There were also returns for Phil Foden and my captain Mo Salah on Saturday, and this took my tally to 36 points from just 3 players. Foden was a player that perhaps played his way into my team for a few more weeks. Granted, he only produced the 1 assist, but having watched the game, he was very close to scoring twice, and at 6.6 million, I still think he can offer excellent value. The 2 blankers on Saturday were McCarthy in goal, and to be fair, that was to be expected in a very tough fixture against Chelsea. But it was Trent Alexander-Arnold that is starting to concern. At a steep 7.5 million, he hasn't yet done the business this season, and with Virgil van Dijk suffering that very bad injury in the last game, that's now him and Alisson out, therefore reducing their chances of a clean sheet significantly. Although not producing many attacking returns so far, he was once again very close to doing so against Everton, having a free kick and an assist from a corner, both very well saved. With a home game against Sheffield United up next, it's hopefully an ideal fixture for him to bounce back. So after a very promising Saturday overall, unfortunately things couldn't have gone much worse on Sunday. Agonisingly, Mitrovic missed that penalty against Sheffield United, and had he scored that one, he'd probably have racked up all 3 bonus points as well, so a 9-point swing. There were also blanks again from both Leicester players, and without Jamie Vardy in the squad, Harvey Barnes really struggled in this one. James Justin was so close to getting a precious clean sheet, but conceded that late Ross Barkley goal in injury time, so a real sickener. Because I chose not to wildcard in Game Week 5, all I was hoping for was for Harry Kane to stay quiet, but he produced an absolute masterclass against West Ham. With him being so heavily owned, and a very popular captain choice as well, his 16-pointer really undid a lot of the progress my team had made in terms of ranking. On the positive though, with De Bruyne being ruled out for a few weeks, in came Heung-min Son who instantly delivered. There were also some very welcomed points from Jimenez and Charlie Taylor on Monday, which really helped consolidate a green arrow. So for Game Week 5, a respectable score of 68. Not bad, but also not spectacular. 68 was enough for a fairly sizable green arrow this week of around 500,000 places, and I'll certainly take that. But it could have been much better had the average score not been so high. The average was a whopping 60 points last week, and it was one of those game weeks where you either had and captained Harry Kane or you didn't. Captaining Mo Salah ended up being a big deficit in comparison, and like I said, had Mitrovic scored that penalty, it really would have changed the context of my game week, so some fine margins there. Overall, it's still a healthy green arrow, and hopefully I can build a bit of momentum from here. So let's move on to Game Week 6 now, look at some potential transfer targets as well as my current team lineup. Also, if you enjoy the content here at FPL TV, then please be sure to leave a like and most importantly get subscribed. You can also hit the notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. There's 3 main players as transfer targets this week, in Grealish, Roman Saiss and of course Harry Kane. James Rodriguez was strongly in my thinking as well, but notably he's now been ruled out for the weekend. If I were to wildcard this week, then it's likely all 3 of these players would feature in my squad, but with my current team looking okay for Game Week 6, again, I'm not sure the wildcard is warranted just yet. Aston Villa have really impressed so far this season, both defensively and going forward, winning all 4 of their games and keeping 3 clean sheets. They now head into arguably the best run of long-term fixtures in the league, and it's their home games in particular that look very appealing, where in just the next 6 they face Leeds, Southampton, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley and Crystal Palace. With Roman Saiss, of course, a defensive transfer is never that appealing, especially when I'm still so behind the curve with many of the attacking players. However, with me still having Ben Davies in the squad, it's a transfer I would like to make if possible. As for Harry Kane, well, he speaks for himself. In an ideal world, Harry Kane is the player I'd most like to bring in this week. But the only way I can realistically afford that is by selling either Werner or Jimenez. And after both of those scored in Game Week 5, it makes that move all the more difficult. I think that Werner does have the higher ceiling than Jimenez, but on the other hand, the Mexican ticks along well, and does boast some very favourable upcoming fixtures. Once again, regardless of my transfer activity this week, I'll be waiting until all the European games are finished, just in case there's any unexpected injuries. So, with no transfers made yet, and with 2.9 million in the bank, let's see how the squad currently lines up. In my current 11, there's still lots that I'm fairly satisfied with, but I think because I haven't utilised my free transfers that well in the opening 5 game weeks, I do feel I've fallen a bit behind the curve in terms of Everton and Tottenham coverage. In particular for this game week, in my opinion, it's my defence that looks the most threadbare. I do think Crystal Palace have a good chance of a clean sheet against Fulham, but with Patrick Van Aanholt now back for Palace, there is concerns over Mitchell and his starting place. I've also got Charlie Taylor facing a free scoring Spurs, and McCarthy facing an in-form Everton, so the prospect of clean sheets here does look fairly unlikely. Having said that, in the middle of recording this video, James Rodriguez is now ruled out for Everton and Richarlison is too suspended, so all of a sudden, perhaps McCarthy in goal is a better option this week than I first thought. As for defensive reinforcements on the bench, well, there's not much to choose from here either, with only Justin away to Arsenal as backup, and Ben Davies no longer starting for Spurs. To shore up my defence, a move from Ben Davies to Roman Saiss is a free transfer I'd like to make, who would then come straight into my 11. In midfield, I was happy with what I saw from Phil Foden last time out, and with him being rested in midweek, he still remains a nice differential for me. The only real weak link in my midfield at the moment is Harvey Barnes, and that's why an upgrade from him to Grealish is a tempting option. The issue I have with using my transfer on Harvey Barnes or Ben Davies this game week is that it does make getting Harry Kane this week all the more difficult, and on current form he is no doubt the player that I fear most not owning. If I make any moves elsewhere, it means I'd need to take a -4 to buy Kane, and for this reason, Harvey Barnes and my poor defence may survive another game week if I do decide to bring Kane in. I still don't think Barnes is a particularly bad pick, and before last game week he had looked very threatening, so he could still get something against the Gunners, providing Vardy and even James Maddison come back into their 11. For the captaincy in game week 6, there hasn't been too much deliberation on this one, and I've had the armband on Mo Salah throughout the week. Sheffield United haven't been their usual solid self to begin this season, and currently have 0 clean sheets in the opening 5 games. Heung-min Son is of course a strong consideration as well, and with Eric Peters and Phil Bardsley potentially missing for Burnley, there could be a lot of joy for the informed Son on that left-hand side. If I were to bring in Harry Kane this week though, then he would certainly come into the equation and have a chance of taking the armband from Salah. On paper, I'm not that keen on the Burnley fixture, but Kane looked completely unplayable against West Ham, and in terms of form, there's nobody better right now. So that's how my team currently lines up, as well as all my transfer considerations. But just in case I do decide to use the wildcard this week, then here's how the team could shape up. Utilising the wildcard would allow me to bring in the 3 transfer targets I've mentioned, most notably Harry Kane, and would also allow me to significantly shore up my defence. I'd have the luxury of a goalkeeper transfer and would choose Emi Martinez, who considering his current form and Villa's fixtures, looks to be the best budget goalkeeper option for at least the next 10 game weeks. Another consideration on the wildcard would be to drop Alexander-Arnold down to Robertson just to free up a bit more cash. To be fair, in the opening 5 game weeks, the Scotsman has looked the more dangerous, though I still believe that Trent will come good. Literally, as I was recording this video, James Rodriguez was then ruled out for game week 6, and initially he featured strongly in this video and was definitely going to be in my wildcard team, probably alongside Calvert-Lewin as well. There's no doubt that I do like the look of this wildcard squad, and now that this video is complete, I'll spend a bit of time tomorrow on weighing up the decision. But without James Rodriguez, and therefore reducing the appeal of Calvert-Lewin as well, I don't think this wildcard team is that far off my current starting 11, and that's why using the chip this week probably isn't warranted. Whatever I do decide, as always, I'll be posting my final locked-in team over on Twitter shortly before the game week deadline. So if you are interested, you can find it there. Good luck to you all in Game Week 6, FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all in the next week.